especially people like
drum and bass fans, trance fans.
They're like fascists, you know, like, and also it's like, wow.
I'll always pay for my tickets.
We're number one.
You don't get that in any other city in the world ever.
There's no Glastonbury, Josh, this year.
I don't.
What the fuck are you gonna do, mate?
That comes up behind and he just looks at Paddy and he just goes, I don't know who they are, but get the fuck out of my chair. By the way, he's an MMA fight.
Before we start the next episode, just want to say a huge thank you very much to everybody who has tuned in, subscribed, liked. We couldn't do this without you, and we're going to do everything in our power to make this one of the best music podcasts ever. But we do need your support. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends, but always click that subscribe button so we can keep sending you the best podcasts. So here's the next episode. Thanks. Hi guys, welcome to Loud Unfiltered. It's 2026. We're back. 2025, what a year. 9 months to do this podcast. We had a #1 Apple Music podcast. Unreal. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for the support. And yeah, we wanted to kick this season off with the #2 and #3 best presenters on the podcast, Josh and Grego. We thought we would, sorry guys, we thought we'd all get together and just have a little recap of last year. But then also, like, what are predictions for 2026? Like, I feel we're in a pretty good position to give our insights. We've heard a lot of insights from people on the show. So, yeah, just to give our insights. But
first of all, get it up, you saying, Lo.
Yeah.
We're coming for you next, Andy Mac. That's our next one, yeah. Yeah, boys, very proud of that fact, by the way. So, yeah, lots of hard work has gone into it. People might not see that from the other side. But, yeah, pretty buzzing. And, yeah, we've got some big plans for this year. So,
yeah, I mean, I think should we give people a bit of a taster about what we're going to be doing?
Yeah, I think we'll do that. We'll do that at the end, or yeah.
Things that we realised worked last year was that obviously we're based here in London, but doing the Inside series in Ibiza and Amsterdam, and having a bit of a focus on different places in the world kind of worked. So I think this year we're going to follow that theme a little bit. Maybe look to Miami. Maybe look to Ibiza again, obviously.
Yeah, possibly Brazil.
So
we're going to Africa. We're going to Africa as well.
World Cup.
Oh, the World Cup. We've got some exciting news to tell you about the World Cup coming up in the next couple of weeks. But we'll tell you all about it. But I mean, I just want to do a little recap of last year. Like, what was your favourite episode you watched, or you actually were on yourself? Like, Josh,
I didn't watch any of yours, so
I didn't watch any of yours either. So
I didn't even. To be honest, I don't even watch most of my own ones either. But I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I don't. I kind of remember them as we do them, so I generally watch them back before they go out, and then I don't think I've actually watched any of them through since they've gone live.
Yeah.
It's weird watching, isn't it? Yeah,
it's weird watching live. But I love them all. You know, I think that, like, you know, a lot of the majority of the ones that I did anyway this year last year were with good friends and people that I've known forever and for a long time, and it's, you know, it's really easy to talk to them and chat about stuff. But they were all awesome and interesting in their own way. I think the one that made me laugh the most was the one was Rob.
I was going to say
Rob Starr, because I'm specifically the conversation about the viral moments they did and Seth's video, and I think
when he did the naked,
naked,
I was going to say that was the one that I wasn't involved in. That was my favourite one, and again, it was because of the personal connection to it, you know, and I think that goes for all the content we've got. If you know someone or you were there at those events, it's obviously going to be more like that. And I think Rob, he's such a legend, and that one in particular.
Yeah, do you know what I really liked? I really liked the Jason By one. I think that was one of my favourite ones, because I personally didn't know too much about him. It's just his stories of drawing dinosaurs and shit. There was like so many great stories.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Which I loved.
That series we did, obviously, that was kind of probably the first big series to kick it off, really, and certainly when I was involved. And I think for me, obviously, I enjoyed doing them the most because it was all about everything I knew about Ibiza. So I didn't even have to prepare a single question. It was just all memories and coming, you know, off the cuff kind of recollections, and knowing those people really well as well. And some of them are, people like Jason and Andy Mackay from Manumission and stuff, that, you know, they're legends in Ibiza. So
as I'm thinking about it still, though, there's like, you know, the one we did with Jacob was hysterical. You know, he's just one of the funniest people I've ever known. Shout out to Jacob. And Jodie, having one of my best friends on as well was awesome. And Jen, you know, Caitlin, you know, everyone. Jenny was amazing. You know, it's hard to. I don't want to forget anybody, so sorry, everyone.
Look, guys, I want to jump into like 2026. I feel like 2025 was a pretty big year in dance music. So maybe just a little recap on that. Who do you think had like one of the biggest years, like DJ wise or event wise or anything like that?
I think Sammy Virgie had a fucking massive year. The whole crossover, you know, the UK garage and speed garage, house garage crossover sound, that big resurgence and its explosion in the US. You know, Sammy's set at Coachella was epic.
Oh yeah, fucking hell. That's back in April, wasn't it?
Yeah, back in April, and I think he had a fucking crazy year. I think that will continue. It's been mad to see how his career, the trajectory of his career, and how that's blown up over the last 6+ years. But I think he had a mega year. He's one I'm a bass head, so you know I love that.
Yeah. This is what I'm gonna like. This is the contrast on your two answers.
We talked about this just earlier, that like you know, obviously we cover all types of electronic music and music generally here, like on the podcast, but there's some people who probably don't even know who Sammy Virgie is. You know, I mean, he's probably the biggest crossover, and obviously he's playing at Coachella and, you know, headlining there. I think, you know, from my point of view, it's not even necessarily the music I particularly like, but certainly in Ibiza, where obviously I'm based and do a lot of my work. People like East End Dubs, Josh Baker, Rossi, that whole UK tech house thing has kind of really exploded. Max Dean, Luke Dean, even Pauser, obviously he's a little bit more established, but you know these guys are now doing their own events and selling out, you know, Warehouse Project and stuff like that. So I think those guys as a collective are pretty.
Yeah, you can see that they're just holding their own as headliners now. Which is
interesting as well.
We're the explosion.
We're both bookers as well, so we book events. So it's obviously interesting for us when we see things in terms of who's big or who's doing well. It's often from that perspective. You know, someone like Jamback had a really big track that Chris Dussy was playing for ages and Circle Local Records picked up on, and that meant he had a massive year, but probably he's not that well known to people in the wider sense, and also he's probably not selling the same amount of tickets as those other artists, you know, because he had a breakthrough year. But yeah, it's I think, you know, there are trends and waves, and I think that definitely was one last year.
Yeah, we talked about artists there. Was there any standout events that you guys went to? Or festivals? I knew you were going to say Glastonbury. I didn't even need to ask you that question, did I? We're going to get onto your Glastonbury stories later, but all right, Grego, you can't say DC10.
Yeah, no. I think look. Again, the other thing is when we're talking about that is what was big in 2025, what's going to be big in 2026. We know that some things always stay the same. Yeah, and you know that means that the biggest event in Ibiza was Calvin Harris, for example. You know, it's just the most in demand. He's doing 2 shows a week, because that's the most popular sound there at that time. But really, you know, if you were to make a list of the biggest selling events or the most popular in the mainstream, it's, you know, they're familiar names. It's kind of music, it's Peggy Goo, it's stuff like that. Obviously, as you delve deeper into the other genres and other like kind of communities, if you like, I think the other then it can become more niche. But definitely, I think one of the trends I sort of noticed mostly was that the music seemed to be either getting slower or faster. It was kind of going to extremes. So you had like loads of melodic stuff, and you know, the kind of afterlifey, post-afterlife kind of artists, and that train is still riding, obviously. And then you've got harder sounds, you know, the business TikTok techno kind of acts through to harder dance sounds, and I guess you could even put speed garage in there a little bit in terms of being faster and harder. And what's interesting on that point is that, you know, I've got a daughter and a son who are in their early 20s. It's like they go out and they like electronic music, and this is the music that they listen to and like. Now, when I was younger and went out, it was that music wasn't really there. So I
try and educate them.
No, it's the thing is, it's like, obviously I can say what I like, but I think it's more interesting that music's like a gateway to the scene. It's important that that gateway's there. You know, you could even say Ibiza's a bit of a gateway, but you know, when you first start going out, you probably don't go straight to Ricardo Villalobos or you know, or Lauren Garnier. You know, it takes you a while to get there. You're probably more likely to go through something a bit more commercial.
I guess for me, it was EDM was really David Guetta, Swedish House Mafia, and then it gets you into that scene.
That's all right. And obviously, if you want to stay in that world, then fine. But obviously, we all work in electronic music culture, and it's all important to us. It's like that gateway hopefully is a stepping stone to then exploring things a little bit longer. And also the other thing is that tastes and trends change. It's like what's popular now and that we like is not going to be the same in 10 years, because if we're still liking that, then you become a dinosaur. And
do you think those genres, probably more for you, Josh, do you think those genres are leading the type of events that we're seeing? Whether there's like, it seems like everything's going, there's big events or what you hear in a club compared to like a big warehouse show or a big festival and stuff like that. Do you think these genres are leading that because they're getting more and more popular, or are different sounds working in different venues? I guess the word I was trying to say there.
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I think, I really don't know how to answer that.
Sorry, I did. It wasn't on the list. I threw that one in.
I don't know how to answer that bit.
It's a bit about how long is a piece of string. But it's clear that some things, especially from a booker's point of view, and it's hard to take that hat off, because look, the other thing as well is that in Ibiza you can go to an event and there's 2,000 people in the club. You can get a drink, you can go to the toilet, you meet the same people, you got rooms to dance, and you have the best night of your life if you're a punter. If you're the promoter or doing the PR or the marketing, it might not be a success. So it depends what's a good night. But obviously, what's popular generally attracts a busy audience. I think, those things that we mentioned already, they kind of do work almost anywhere, really. Obviously, it can vary, but now what surprised me is that you can put, you really can put a hard techno event pretty much anywhere in Europe or the world, and it's going to do well, which couldn't really always be said for other genres. Something like progressive years ago probably it only works in certain markets now. It doesn't work the same in Europe as it does in South America, for example.
It feels a little bit like territorially, it's always been like, we've always kind of talked about, UK, Europe, kind of UK predominantly, but we kind of lead the way, and then the kind of music flows across, and it takes a couple of years before like what's big here to be big in the US. It feels like that time scale was shortened massively now. Yeah. It's like, just taking the UK garage thing again, it's, UKG's always been it's always been a thing here, but it's had a lot more of a resurgence in the UK. And it's not taken that long for that to blow up quite massively in the US. So
I think that's because of social media. I guess people see videos, and then
definitely because
you don't have to wait for that artist to then tour.
Definitely because of social media. But I think you're seeing like the American lineups are much more diverse than they've ever been. Like, I think, before they were very linear, and, it was very, the Americans generally call, everything electronic is EDM to them. So like we try and separate, EDM to us is, Martin Garrix and Stevie Aoki. Yeah. So the way we would label EDM, that's kind of really EDM, dubstep, etc. That's kind of really been, it's dominated lineups in the US massively, and then that's filtered down to what the audiences are listening to there. You look at the Ultra lineup this year, and everyone's making a big song and dance about this, rightly so, because they have gone like all out, balls on the floor, booking some crazy back-to-backs, like really diverse lineups, really like right across the board genres, across the whole electronic spectrum, like loads of fucking crazy exclusive. Martinez Brothers are doing one of their only shows this year there. There's some, it's an endless list of stuff, but that's something I love looking at lineups. Like, as a booker, I've always been excited to look at, like, when lineups come out. Like, lineup season is like, I've always been excited to see Glastonbury's, obviously, but like, the Boomtowns and EDCs and tomorrow, and just because I want to see where people are going. And as a booker,
how you put that together.
But Grego said this, it's so hard as a booker to try and be different. Everybody is picking from the same pool of artists, especially over here, because, EDM, the big, first of all, there's only so many people you can afford. Since the Americans joined the party for year, like 10 years ago, whatever it was, fees have just gone through the fucking roof. And you can't, there's so many artists that you can't afford to put, you will never see in clubs. Right, you'll never see a load of artists in clubs because you just cannot afford it. Yeah. Especially over here, because we don't have short of maybe a couple.
Yeah, there's a couple of big ones in there. Where else? Drum sheds, maybe.
But festivals are, there's been 5 years of like losses for the most of the event market here in the UK and Europe since post-COVID. So everybody's still trying to recoup losses, and you're trying to be careful about who you're spending on and what, like, how much you're spending and who you're spending it on.
Do you think there's going to be a change in 2026 then? Like more club shows, more clubs opening, or more festivals? Where do we see it going?
I think this year's been the first year I can honestly say I've seen the clubs are coming back. Club scene's coming back. I mean, we felt as a business we're doing lots more venue work than we have done it's the most work we've done with venues since COVID. People are going out a lot more again, which is awesome to see. You know, we've launched 6 venues or relaunches in London this year alone, 3 or 4 in New York. You know, we've got, you know, it's been amazing to see. Finally, like, there's a big resurgence and people are going out again. So yeah, I think it's starting again. You know, I think, you know, we've had like year on year post COVID of like cancellations and festivals cancelling, and 55 festivals cancelled last year. And, you know, I think what the Save Our Scene guys are doing some amazing stuff in like helping the grassroots venues like Rebirth and Nighttime Association.
Big up George.
Big up George. Well done. And massive big props.
Really good job.
Big props for your award at the TJ Mag Awards. Well done.
Yeah, well done on that. Yeah, massive. Well deserved.
So yeah, I think grassroots venues, nightclubs, events, festivals, you know, I think it feels like the market is starting to come back again. In a big way.
Sorry, I was going to ask you, sort of talking about the London scene or not UK. Do you see these effects in Ibiza? A lot, or is Ibiza just Ibiza?
Just a couple of things I wanted to pick up on what Josh said. From a booker's point of view, it's like seeing these lineups, and there's 2 things. Firstly, that, you know, you can't stop the trends coming. That it's a cultural thing. It's like, obviously, whether it's going back to someone like deadmau5 or, you know, kind of music or Romanian minimal, whatever it is, these things come along, and hopefully they'll always come along, and things change and shift, and you just have to kind of roll with it and stay with it. And it's good being a booker that means you're always kept on your toes, because it is quite hard to be different. And obviously there is a lot of homogenous kind of lineups and everything's the same. So it's good to have this constantly moving. Secondly, with regards to how it works in Ibiza, obviously Ibiza is different because, you know, you can take the biggest act in hard techno who's going to sell 10,000 tickets in Belgium next week, put them on a Wednesday in Ibiza, and they won't sell a bean. And
I've seen that happen as well. Yeah,
that goes for like almost every artist. You know, you could take a really big touring band, you know, someone like Bicep, Caribou, these live acts that have done, you know, big capacity venues. You put them in Ibiza, if they're selling a couple of thousand tickets, they're doing well. And I think that just shows, you know, we talked about it a little bit, but how, you know, there are some variations on markets. You know, someone like John Summit was obviously huge in the States. Now you're seeing that a little bit more in Europe. Mm-hmm. And obviously it is to do with how the information's consumed.
Yeah,
you know,
social media.
So people
TikTok,
see it, that a trend can sort of develop almost overnight. Not quite, but, you know, if you see and we see it as bookers because it's reflected in the fees, you know. So that group of artists I said before, the tech house guys, you know, I'd include Chris Dussy in there. Obviously he's a little bit more perhaps advanced than them, but, you know, you're talking about an artist who, again, without going too much into the numbers, was probably charging a couple of grand 3 or 4 years ago, and now it's, you know, 10, 20, 30 times more. So yeah.
So
it's very like it's obviously has the difficulty, and it's really good to hear about the club scene. And I wanted to mention there are other places. Obviously Berlin's obviously always been probably the most thriving club scene, and it's different there because people will go there and play for less, and they'll play for less in places like Robert Johnson and Frankfurt and stuff. But places like Madrid and Barcelona are really seeing, because the harder sounds, the sounds in the harder techno are fragmented a bit. It means you've got almost 3 or 4 different scenes within like what previously was one faction of music. You know, you've got the hard style, hard techno, you got TikTok techno, and then you've got sort of your drum code, Adam Bayer sort of style. There's almost 4 different. So that means that's diversified a bit. In places like Madrid, especially, I think, and Barcelona, there's a lot going on there. In Ibiza, as I said, it's really complicated because you can put whoever you want on, but that night there might be 4 other DJs.
I was going to say that on the road. It's like the Champions League, isn't it, of artists?
And you don't get that in any other city in the world ever.
Vegas.
Vegas, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
I think. Sorry,
but again, it's probably only. It was okay. It's probably only a couple, and you know, obviously in Ibiza you got 6 or 7 on the same night,
but no, you're right. No,
and also it's a small place.
Yeah,
you're right. No.
So I just wanted to ask you, like, you're both bookers, you're both really passionate, both really good bookers. Like, what's some of What's some of your favourite things about booking, and then what's some of the things you really or pet peeves or things you don't like about it? Name no names and things like that. But I want to get into what you guys actually do a little bit.
Honestly, for me, it's the creative part of like being able to, look, we're privileged to work in this industry and like basically have a job that is, it's our passion. So it means that, we come from the dance floor as well. So it's being able to curate those moments for other people and hopefully give them a smile on the face.
Do you get like a buzz or a hair stand on your head when you see that?
I think I completely agree with that. And Jodie said this as well when we were talking about it in the podcast I did with her. And it's that, and I kind of refer this back to like the moment that we talked about this before, like what was the moment that you knew you wanted to be in this world and stuff. And I remember the first ever event I was involved in when I was like, I was so not involved in it, but flyering, I guess, listening, whatever, like one of the Maceo from De La Soul, like Evolution in Leeds. And I was like so limitedly involved in that event, but I remember just standing on the stairs, just looking like 2,000 people just just loving this sound and just love it. And I was just like, and I was like, less so to Maceo from De La Soul than they would be to maybe fucking the stuff that we're doing. Very good. But it's that feeling of like being responsible for creating that night for those people and that is the buzz you get. Whenever I stand on the stage and look at the crowd just losing it to that artist you booked. No,
I think look, it's like as well. It's like if you're not an artist, we're not artists. We're not performing. It's the way and we have it with PR. It's the same at every level, from the flyer to whatever. You play that little role in doing it. Obviously, if you're there creating that, you've got a bit more influence, so you can say, I always thought that would work. You try it, or I always thought they were good, and give them a chance, and then you see them do it.
And you see it actually works sometimes. Well, back to back, you put together works. An artist works.
It's always forced me to diversify what I listen to, because like you can, it depends what you're booking for, right? But you're
not booking for you, really.
No, like for One Out, for example, we're booking 3 or 4 stages with different sounds across them all, and they're not all necessarily artists that I would listen to on a daily basis. But when you're booking an event or a festival, you're not just great. Yes, a lot of the time you are catering to people like you, but it can't always be like that, and it's not always going to be like that. So a lot of the time I'm like, I need to go, I discover artists and listen and sounds and stuff that I would never normally listen to, and I end up going down rabbit holes of people and discovering these artists, and I'm like, fuck, this is
I know. I sit next to you in the office. I heard the rabbit holes you go down to.
This really honestly fascinates me about this culture, because it's like if you were to have different steps of a tube's like an underground tube map, and it was all a different genre and it's all going along the line, you might say, well, I'm on these 3 stops here, but really that other genre that's there, it's only one more stop, so it's not that big of a jump to get there to even for example, someone like I worked with Frankie Wah a couple of years ago at Chimwa, and great guy, great music, all the rest of it, but I wasn't really listening to that. It was a bit more melodic for me, even though his heritage is progressive, which I loved. So I encountered about 20, 25 new artists, not new as in I hadn't heard of them, but I'd not really listened to them, a couple of new ones. And honestly, after spending a couple of seasons doing it, you get to like it. It's like because of the familiarity and because you realize they're talented, and also you see people having a good time. And I think as a booker, you have to be a lot more open-minded about sounds. I have to say, I really loved as well, and I still do love people who are hardcore fanatic about one thing. Especially people who like trans fans. They're like fascists, and also it's like wow, they're like this is what
Sorry, trans fans.
No, and it's but it's in a positive way, because it's like they're so fanatical about it, and it's
I know what you mean,
even within the scene there'll be factions where that's not the same trance as that, and it's brilliant, because that's the fanaticism and the support that keeps the scene going. Really,
I suppose it's a bit like supporting your own football team. If you're into hard techno, you're really into that.
Yeah.
There's some people that like everything, but there's
never change your football team.
Yeah, that's it. But you can change your sound and who you're into and stuff like that.
Exactly, mate.
All right, amazing.
I mean, we might.
Go on then. What's the?
We might all need to change our.
Yeah, we might all need to.
Yeah, we're terrible. Let's not talk about that. What are the things you don't like about booking? Go on.
I think honestly,
or are there some people you encountered on your? I'm trying to get this out of you. I'll let you say what you want to say here, boys.
Do you know what? It's like, obviously, one of the things you see about Coachella is there's a Instagram account where it says it changes the names of the artists to the agencies. And you see the dominance of the big agencies, CAA, William Morris, UTA, and that they're all part of the scene. For me, this culture, it has three parts. It has the dance floor, the people on the dance floor, it has the artists, and it has the promoters. Like, that's the triangle, really. Everything else outside of there, and we all work outside of there as well in terms of management and promotions and like, really it can survive without all of that. So the agent's a little bit outside of that, and look, that's how it is, fine. But like, it honestly, their job is to get as much money as they can for the artist. That's their job. Whereas the job of a promoter is, and I'll do this till I die, is to try and give the best experience to the customer. Yeah, you want to make money, but honestly, these days, if you're breaking even, you probably go on and do the event, and that's craziness, really.
You're right, and I've always said, yes, like you just said there, yes, nobody, we all love that. We love what we do. You wouldn't do these things if you didn't love it, really. But and yes, it's a business at the end of the day. You need to make money, but ultimately the first and foremost priority is, regardless of what that bottom line looks like at the end of it, everybody has got to go away from that festival or event going, that was fucking epic. Yeah. I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk to my friends about it and tell them how good. And I've always said as well, is like the balance of like the brand versus the artist. You book artists to get people to come. You want them going away talking about how great the event was, not about the artist that they initially came there to see. So they go, yeah, I want to go and see, I don't know, fucking whoever. Pazza. Yeah. I'm going to book and go and see Pazza at this event, and then you go away, go, that fucking event was amazing, or that night was awesome, or Solid Grooves, or whatever it is. But yeah, that's it. So but it's I mean, I'd love to answer your question.
Okay, I'm just trying to get out what you told me before we started.
I'm going to try and answer a couple of things. So one of the things is that
I'm not trying to dig anyone out. I'm just interested.
It's like, obviously the job of the agent is to try and get their artist booked, and it's a fluid thing. So someone like Space 92, who's one of the top selling artists on Beatport, like huge act, selling out venues in Ibiza, just doesn't work. It's not that sound. Obviously, the people behind him, will try and support him to get gigs, but it's difficult for that sound to work there. So, but then it's like, well, what does the agent do? Not try and build it there and grow it. They have to do it, and it's a slow burning thing. What the difficult thing is when the agent or the manager or the artist doesn't realize that actually they're not worth the same 2,000 sales they are or 10,000 sales they are in Barcelona, in Ibiza. And they don't reflect that in the fee. Some do. Some go, right, look, you're a new festival, Unum Festival, obviously, you're a new festival. It's Albania. We'll support you. We'll have a much reduced fee. Did that a couple of years ago. There's some agents and artists who just don't. They won't change. They won't budge, and that's really sad. Really, actually, it's really sad that they miss an opportunity. Look, someone like some of these newer guys we talked about here. They could rapidly rise so big that they completely miss a whole stratosphere of clubs and not just clubs, but cities. Take somewhere like Geneva or Zurich. They don't have really, really big clubs there. And until you get to like arena level, that means you're never going to go to Switzerland. And that's fair enough.
Right, look at it. Yeah.
Do you not want to build your audience there? Do you not want to have fans in Switzerland? Of course you do. At some point you've got to say, well, less is more, or
that's a really interesting point.
Quality over quantity, really or in terms of total fee. So
yeah, I mean, I think in addition to that, we said this before. I was speaking. Me and Jenny spoke about this quite a lot on the podcast when she came on with me about diversity and trying to book that and trying to be inclusive and be diverse in what you're programming. And I think I can say this: every booker wants to do it. We all want to be diverse and we all want to be inclusive, but it's hard. It's really hard to do it, and I said to Jenny, I want wherever I can do it, and it makes sense for the festival or the event, we'll do it, if it makes sense for the crowd. But you can't, booking people to tick a box, whether it's their gender or race or background or whatever, is just to tick a box is counterproductive. It's not what being inclusive is about. It's not, you can't just do that. It's not, you are just going to end up fucking yourself. And, people still have to ultimately, as much as you want to put on a great event and a great party, it's got to make sense for the lineup. It's got to make sense musically. It's got to make sense for the crowd that you're attracting or you're targeting. But it's also, it's also got to make sense for your ticket value.
Yeah.
It's all, and I think, it's hard,
do you know what? I'm glad there is now a lot more awareness about it, because it's 5-6 years ago people weren't even talking about it.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot more awareness now.
Having the conversation,
people are thinking about it and now having these conversations now.
Definitely.
Well,
I think the point as well is that now people like me and you are thinking about it, whereas in the past we might not even think about it.
Yeah, correct.
I think which is great.
I just picked up on it there, but I think what kind of gets to me as well sometimes is that certainly agents, you look, I don't blame them, because
figuring them all out. Yeah.
No, but it's like their job is to maximize as much as possible their fees, and sometimes it feels like they'll use anything to do that. I know in the past there's been agencies where they'll push female artists, but only the ones on their roster. I mean, that for me, that's a little bit. It's a little bit
all right.
too cute. That.
All right, we're going to move away from the booking things before we get you two in trouble. But let's bring it back to 2026. Like, there's no Glastonbury, Josh, this year.
I don't.
What the fuck are you going to do, mate? So, obviously, this is your favourite festival in the world. Where else are you going to go? Are you looking at other party destinations? Are you going to go and experience other festivals? So I know it's one of the main things that you do, and you maybe don't get an opportunity to go to other festivals. Are you going to be doing anything? Is there any on your radar?
Good question. Well, actually, no. To be honest, I'm thinking about. Well, we've our crew who normally go. I've not missed a Glastonbury for 10 Glastonburys or something. I think I've not missed one.
You one of them people just always get tickets.
Yes, constantly, and I always.
You still got the bands on?
Yeah, I don't.
Dirty bastard.
I don't take it off until the next one goes on. Ever. It's not. I've been wearing a Glastonbury band, not consistently the same one, but a Glastonbury band.
Is there anyone else that does that?
11 years. Jodie does.
All right.
No, I'm a Glastonbury geek, like proper geek. So sorry, I keep tapping the you're gonna tell me off again.
That's right. But is there any events?
I think so. Well, we've been talking about it a lot because our crew, there's like 30 of us that go every year. We've been talking about like what we're going to do instead. Like, how the fuck are we going to fill that void? I don't know. Like, there's things that I'm not. There's like there's trips to Ibiza that I've not done because of Glastonbury. Hideout, as an example, it's not quite. We've worked with them for years.
Yeah,
and it's always been one. It's always been one that I've actually never gone, and it's not. I feel like I'm a little bit older than the typical.
You love it though, because it's all garage and
it's great. But I think just on that point, Hideout is a really good example. The market generally, when there's not a Glastonbury on, it really benefits the rest of the market because people massively commit to that festival.
Hideout sold out, didn't it?
Sold out in like an hour.
Oh, an hour,
like 2 hours, which is unbelievable. Well done, guys. But I think I don't want to take away from how great the festival is, and the lineup is great, and they've got some really really great stuff going on. But I think, and Hideout's not the only one, but the market benefits from there being no Glastonbury. Talking about 300. It's not just about the people that go, because you don't get the tickets aren't done until April, May, when the resale happens, right? So people are holding off and committing to anything else until they know if they're going or not, right? So it is
350,000 people, isn't it, or something?
Officially 250 odd thousand tickets, but then there's however many spin-ins and stuff.
Spin-ins,
not that I would ever do, and I have never and will never spin in. Just telling you that, Emily, if you're listening, I'll always pay for my tickets. You've got 250,000 people who actually get a ticket, but you've got millions, however many it is, who are registering and waiting for tickets and stuff. So people don't commit. So festivals, anything that's going on, it's not just festivals around that time. It's festivals right through the summer. It's a £375 ticket or something for Glasgow. It's going to cost you £1,000, right? People are cost of living versus post-COVID still, when people are still working out. Festivals have suffered because people are choosing one or two things to spend the money on: destination events, local festivals, etc. But if you think about people, people who would normally spend £1,000 at Glastonbury are now going to go to Hideout, and they're going to commit early to go to it, or they're going to go to 5-day festivals or 6-day festivals or something. They're going to spend the money elsewhere.
Maybe a good thing for the festival market has obviously been suffering. Do you think it's good a good thing.
It's a great. It is a great. I mean, it's horrible for Glastonbury lovers because like I don't know what I'm going to do. But
sit in your garden and put a tent up or something.
I did that during COVID.
Did you build a Glastonbury Lego thing?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did that as well.
Oh yeah, we're going to put that in the comments afterwards. So everyone can see this.
Built the pyramid stage out of Lego.
Well, yeah, I think look. I mean, I was
some really gimpy stuff.
I was going to jump in and say, look, there's obviously hundreds of amazing festivals, as Josh has alluded to there. On my side, I think I'm going to visit SXM Festival for the first time.
That's
and hopefully we can have some fun there. But that's obviously an amazing location with a great lineup
in the Caribbean.
On San Martin. I think
what I was going to ask you actually, Grego, because it was more about festival. I was going to ask you about locations. Like you're talking about Caribbean, then right. I was going to ask you about is there these different locations that?
Yeah, so and other festivals. I know one of the other things as well. Like the boutique festivals have really done well, like Houghton and Gotwood. They're really almost as they've gone beyond some of their parts in terms of how people view them and see them. Another one which is absolutely amazing, so I've been told, is Waking Life in Portugal. That's meant to be absolutely surreal. I think in terms of destinations, I think you'll find people hopefully going to places like Albania for Unum Festival, which I run. But people hopefully want that other experience because it's so homogenous now. That weekend we do Unum, this Park Life in Manchester, which obviously is a huge festival. But again, I kind of would like to think that if you're into that and you would want to go to an event like that, being at such a huge event with 60,000 people who live down the road from you that you see every week isn't as appealing as meeting all sorts of different nationalities at a small boutique festival that doesn't stop, where the music doesn't stop, there's no sound restrictions, all the rest of it. And that's just my, the festival I'm involved with. It's the same in other places. I'm interested to see what happens at Sonar this year because one of my friends is the new music director, Michiel. So that's going to be interesting. And I think as well, we mentioned Berlin before, and honestly, even I'm surprised after 20 years of it being like this, but the constantly fluid state of how the clubs operate there, temporary licenses, venues that pop up for a year and then disappear, is fascinating, really, and I guess really healthy. So
yeah. I mean, I just wanted to talk about the party destination around the world because it's constantly changing. I'm seeing Brazil having a big moment. In a minute, there's a lot of festivals been running over New Year's Eve. Tulum looks like it's kind of at its day a little bit. In a minute,
on the way out.
On the way out a little bit. I mean, Ibiza's
why
Ibiza.
Do you think that though? Is it because there's no afterlife?
I just haven't seen as much hype. And I think all the cool kids went to Brazil this year. Yeah. You can physically see it on Instagram and on TikTok, where it's not all be in your face.
Just because you can see it on Instagram doesn't mean that that's the reality, though.
I know, yeah. Well, that's right. I'm not there, but I'm literally glued to my phone.
I think you're right. Places like Brazil, Medellin is got a bit of a scene happening now. But I think honestly,
you could say that,
yeah. I think honestly, for people, it's
Venezuela.
I'd really encourage people to look, take the Brexit really didn't do well for British people, especially traveling. Everyone took a bit of a step back. I think, people are skinned, the cost of living's blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, there's some amazing things happening. And some of those places I mentioned, like Albania, I think there's some markets like, in Mykonos and Dubai that kind of will always have a role. And without going too much into it, for me, it's still kind of on the periphery a little bit. It's not ever going to be where the scene's focused. I know, in New York, obviously, there might be some changes. There's the Brooklyn Mirage, obviously, have gone through a process of, I think, sale.
Potentially some new owners are happening.
Some owners there, maybe Ibiza-based owners. Who knows?
The
cherries, yeah. But I think with something like that, it's they're kind of developed scenes. But again, I just go back to the fact that for us to even be sat here discussing all of this, and for us to be working across projects on this, doing bookings, helping with the PR and the marketing, going to these events, we're privileged, man.
Yeah, I mean that's we've never actually sat down and talked about this. I'm actually enjoying this. Hearing we actually don't really we sit here and talk to interview a lot of other people and hear their stories. So it's we're actually deep thick in this industry and we have a lot of knowledge and work within it, don't we? Yeah, so it's just nice hearing your both personal stories as well. not shouting at each other across the office.
Yeah, one of the other ones I wanted to mention was, and again, this is something that I saw recently actually on Instagram, but it's the antithesis of Instagram social media. It was an unannounced DIY rave in Spain that they ran from the 31st of December till the 7th of January. It was announced like an old acid house party in the UK, where on Telegram the day, I think the 30th or the 31st, they've done it for 3 or 4 years now. They said, right, it's this location, come here. It's all DIY sound systems. It's all free. It's all totally illegal. And a lot of it is kind of more psytrance and harder techno sounds, but it's like a mini Burning Man, I guess. There's all sorts of stuff happening there.
Oh wow.
And that I think is something that, you know, it just fills me with joy that things like that are still happening.
Yeah.
And they picked Spain because the laws of a party like that are actually less.
I think I read about the government supported it, or the local council allowed it to happen, or something.
I think they'd turn the blind eye, which is more than happens in France or Germany, because a lot of people go from there. On the same note, somewhere like Sunwaves has been forced to move from Romania, where it's been for 20 years or whatever, because of restrictions, basically policing restrictions, really tight controls on licensing, and all sorts of stuff. And they've actually crossed the border to Bulgaria, so they're doing it up the road a little bit, so it's still kind of on the same beach but just over the border.
Oh right, okay, yeah. So that was quite a big story. That's what's happening there. Right,
it's just, again, I think, look, we live in a world where, you know, fear seems to be, you know, there's more extremism in politics and everything, and, you know, this has always been the outlet for people. But to go back to the origins of the scene, that's exactly what it always was. So to have these things happening, it was called Big Fucking Party, by the way.
What a name. I'd love to have a party called Big Fucking Party.
Stuff like that just shows that, like, you know, it was always a subculture and a counterculture, and it's kind of good to see those things still there, really.
Just because I've got to ask you this, Josh, as you go over it, what is the silliest, funniest thing you've seen? Like, let's just say last year at Glastonbury. Like, you must have so many things. But like, I'm going to ask you one about Ibiza next. So yeah, we'll do Josh for Glastonbury first.
There's so much of this I definitely cannot say.
Exactly. It's called Loud Unfiltered, mate. Say what you want.
I can say. I mean, I loosely say, okay. There's two. I would say two things on this. One. And I'm not going to name this DJ because I'm just not going to, but it was one of the funniest things and one of the most fucked I've ever seen anyone ever at any one time in my life. It was like a comic sketch. I still actually thinking back on it, I'm like, that couldn't have been real. Like that, and it is entirely possible that I imagined it, given the mental state that I was possibly in, but I didn't. But yeah, like just dancing at Block 9, and it was like 6 in the morning or something, 6:30, 7 in the morning, and NYC Down Low was just closing, and I kind of turned around. We were right at the back, and I kind of turned around, and I just saw DJ X coming out, just come out of NYC Down Low on his own, in the most disheveled state I've ever seen anybody. And I just kind of turned around, and I was in my own. It was one of those moments where at Glastonbury, I often, like, when I'm kind of zoned off and I just kind of like scan, you just pan the room a little bit and just like, what's going on here? Like, what's going on around me? Find someone who's more fucked than you and feel instantly a lot better about yourself. That is the key and that's always possible at any moment in Glastonbury. And I found that person, and it was this DJ, and he's walked out, and he's like 2-pack bandana like slanted over his face, glasses like all wonky with one of the lenses like missing, dry blood, just like dry blood in his face, like coming out of his every crevice, basically. Like ripped t-shirt, like record bag over shoulder, slumped to one side, limping, and like just limping through on his own, also doing the same thing that I was doing, trying to find someone more fucked than he was. And I'm telling you now, he did not find that person. There's no fucking way he found that person. And I just watched him like, oh my God, if you
know who that person is, please sign off it. Please message in the comments. Please have a guess.
Guess.
Win a free trip for Ibiza.
Guess is welcome. Yeah. But yeah, that was epic. I reckon the craziest other shit that I saw was definitely during a DMT trip. So that was,
I can imagine that. What about you, Grego? You've been working in Ibiza. You must see all sorts or experience things.
Well, do you know what? You asked me that you were going to ask me this before, and I must have worked at about 120 events, and I couldn't think of anything at all. I think, do you know what? It's like, I think, there's been things like one trend, which it just tickles me when you see people doing it. And again, it goes into what we talked about before, the kind of piss-taking nature of the industry. And like, basically I work in this industry because when I first started going out, I like going out, clubbing, love the music, love taking the piss out of other people, then making friends with them taking the piss out of me. And it's not stopped really for 25 years. And one of the things I saw which really tickled me was the trend for people to wear, the kind of music headscarf thing. So you'd go to a gig and you'd see these kind of like group of guys all wearing the kind of music heads, Rampa or Andre's headscarf thing. I just kind of looking at it, and obviously you had the meme going around, and we'll flash a photo up of what's her name? Doc Cotton from.
We'll definitely flash that one up.
It's just hard how that became,
I've got the image in my head now.
Yeah, and then I think the only other thing which is just about silly was, obviously, again going back to how privileged we are, and it's total name dropper Clank, but there was a couple of DC10s where the guest list of people turning up were like, even I was like, wow, you're looking around, you don't even speak to these people, maybe a hello, but Jeff Bezos was there with DiCaprio and Travis Scott, Dua Lipa's there, wow. Ronaldo, footballer,
What's that one?
Yeah, well, the good one. No, but it's just it's just, it's kind of not really a big part of anything to do with, my job or what you do. It's just, but yeah, you have a moment where you see that and you think, oh, all right, fucking hell.
I'll tell you a funny story actually from Glastonbury that's just popped into my head. It actually wasn't this year, but it was last year, but it was fun. It's funny enough to tell you. We're all sitting right now. We're all back chilling back at our tents, just as you've talked about name dropping some celebs. It's popped into my head. We're sitting around the tents. We're all just kind of preparing to go back out. And Paddy Pimlet, the Paddy the Baddie.
Paddy the Baddie.
Paddy the Baddie.
Great lad, yeah.
Anybody that knows the Menendez brothers will know there is nobody that those cunts don't know. Right? So, can I say cunts in this?
Of course you can. It's our podcast.
It's my favourite word,
mate. So we're number one.
It's my favourite word. I don't think I've ever said it on camera before. But yeah,
we're talking about DMT.
Boys fucking know anyone. There's like he could bring King Charles over to the centre. I wouldn't be surprised. Like he's like there's like nobody that the guys don't know. Anyway, kind of rocks up and he's like, oh yeah, Paddy's coming up. And I'm like, how the fuck? And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm not even gonna ask. Like okay. So Paddy comes up. One of our mates, Ollie, is in his tent and has got no idea who Paddy is, and also doesn't know that he's there. So he's in his tent doing his thing, and he always brings this fucking camping chair that's like that. So we're all sat around, and his chair is like this throne type chair, and he's in his tent, and Paddy comes up with his mate, and he comes and sits with us, just joins the circle, right? So everyone's chatting away, and Paddy sits in his chair, and Ollie, our mate, comes out the tent, and not knowing who Paddy is, comes up behind, and he just looks at Paddy, and he just goes, I don't know who they are, but get the fuck out of my chair. And we're all just like, oh my God. And Paddy's like, all right, calm down, mate, it's all right. And he goes, and so he gets up and he goes, and don't stand in my tent either. And we're all just like, Ollie, mate, fucking chill out. So Paddy's obviously laughing it off, and he gets up and he sits down in another chair, and Ollie sits down. And then one of the guys sits down and he goes, by the way, he's an MMA fighter. and Ollie just went bright red, and he turned around and he went, I'm so sorry. I was like, do you want the chair back? Sat there dying. It was brilliant.
Brilliant. As we were talking about Ibiza, I kind of just want to go on to some Ibiza rumors, because we're going to be back doing it inside Ibiza again. Let's have a little chat about what is going to happen in Ibiza this year.
Look, the thing with Ibiza is, look, we were talking about rumors. At the minute, there aren't loads of rumors, actually. Last year,
so many. What are you on about?
No, there's some. Last year with Universe, that was the big rumor. Universe coming back and announcing the
it was a
massive shift. There was a big new club, so there's 7 nights and everything changes. This year will probably be a bit more of the status quo and things stay the same. And even the bigger acts, Corolla's still ruling the roost. The more commercial nights are successful. The ones at Ushuaia and Universe work really well. And I think the probably the biggest changes might be at Amnesia, I think.
They're going to be celebrating 50 years this year.
50 years. Yeah. They obviously were left a little bit dry, out of dry really with their
nothing.
So some of the they lost 3 or 4 residencies. So I think this year they've got some changes and some new stuff coming in. And the thing is, and I'll explain this story. One of the owners of Unum visited Ibiza for the first time. They're from Kosovo in near Albania, and they came to DC10 and they went there and they went there, and then they came back and said Amnesia. Wow. And you have to think about what the experience is like at Amnesia when you go to a closing party or something. It's absolutely unbelievable. It's that atmosphere, and the club probably can reinvent itself a little bit in that gap that's missing as a bit more of an undergroundy kind of home for some things. So
what are some of the rumours we've heard then? Who do you reckon could be going there? Well, Caparati maybe.
Been announced yet for a bit?
Nothing's been announced. So
been announced.
Anywhere. These are whatever we say. These are pure rumours. We don't know anything. Anything could happen. Like I had like some people are going to be moving from High to Amnesia. Some people moving from Pasha to High. Like it feels like there's going to be a bit of a merry-go-round. A bit.
I think Josh Baker's looking to have a residency. Still not sure where, but we think that one's definitely going to happen.
I've been seeing lots of stuff about John Summit as well having a residency.
Obviously, we know Glitterbox has gone to Amnesia. Affected's gone to Chimwa.
Yep.
So there's a few changes for that group. But I think a lot of you won't see as many as last year. I think there'll be some status quo, but it's actually interesting how quiet the announcements are so far, because normally you would have expected some more stuff.
I think the next couple of weeks is going to be mad. I guess you touched on Universe there. I didn't actually go. Did you go, Josh?
I didn't go.
Obviously,
I actually didn't go.
What did you think of it?
I did.
Yeah, I mean,
what did you think of it? And how do you think it's going to affect the Ibiza landscape now?
Well, what they did with the renovation of the club's absolutely unbelievable. That place was, not quite falling apart, but it was very run down. And I used to thinking of the bigger picture. If you think about someone going to Ibiza for the first time, perhaps who doesn't even know anything about dance music, perhaps they don't know anything about music, and they go to Ibiza and end up going there, you'd like to think that they have the most mind-blowing experience ever, that they think, I want this for the rest of my life, which is what happened to me, basically. That idea is why I think, I buzz off how things are there, even if some of the nights perhaps is not my style of music. I think Paradise did probably the best out of
I saw some amazing videos.
The nights that changed, that went to the group from outside. But I think, look, it's a huge space. I see a lot of people complaining about, I don't really want to go into it, but our universe is just full of people stood there filming. But as we've seen at DC10, people used to say that at DC10, and now that you can't film there, no one says it at all.
Yeah, that was a big thing that they brought in last summer, didn't they?
So now you're not allowed to use your phone. If you do, someone will tell you to stop doing it. So they released a video last week, obviously, that they'd filmed, and everyone's like, oh, look, no phones. But it was kind of mostly like that all the time anyway. And even in the more popular commercial nights, it's not always there with people stood with the phone.
It's just that big moment, isn't it?
Of course, it's the big moment it is. But it's going to be an interesting season.
Yeah, I guess I'll ask you this. Pasha had its most successful season last year in terms of revenue. We've been reading about. How do you think the season will be for them to continue to grow and what they're doing? I feel like they have a really unique.
Can I just jump in? One thing they did, which I think was really interesting actually for the dynamic of Ibiza, is they did a split residency with Maupi and Blondish. Now, normally down the years you'd have the residency does the whole season, and they did that for whatever reasons they did. But it's an interesting concept to look at it, to say that actually maybe it's not going to be so much in the future about having one artist, because there's only so many of them.
Yeah, I think that worked. It worked.
I think there's maybe. Yeah,
and so all right.
Some more stuff. I don't want that to sound like I don't. I do agree with you, but I think there's some more. Watch the space.
Yeah, so I mean, it's that thing of having rather than having an event that might not be good enough, do 16 weeks. You do one that might not be good enough to do 4 weeks, and another one does 4 weeks, and then
it's more focused.
It keeps it interesting, keeps it more focused.
I don't think it's this. I know you're not saying this, but and it's not necessarily about it's not strong enough to do a 16-week thing. It's not about that. It's just about diversity. You don't need to You don't need to fill it. You don't need to fill a 16-week gap with the same, with the same repetitive nature. I've always kind of looked at the Ibiza market like that, and I've been like, I get it, people go for a week at a time. So, you're appealing, you're catering to people across the whole season. But, people will choose their trip and the dates that they go based on the things that they want to see. I think I don't think anybody else has really done it that way, the way Pasha did last year. So, and I think there's some really exciting things for them to come. But the brand, the club's awesome. It's so loved. It's such a
heritage brand, isn't it? Yeah.
Pasha and Amnesia are the only two,
originals.
The only two originals remaining, right? Privilege is universe. Space is high. There's not. They are the mainstays, and they continue to fly the flag with some awesome stuff.
I think as well. Sorry,
I think Destino's also been awesome with Five taking over and what they've done with that, and some awesome events in there. And I'm excited to see what they do this year. They got a really good fucking PR agency.
It just as well. I mean, I didn't really want to name names, but it's such a long time ago now. But the residencies that, for example, Hot Since '82 had, Maceo Plex, they were a Pasha, for example, and they probably at that stage weren't at the level to sustain as a headline act themselves the whole season, but they would have been good for 4 dates. And
that could have worked really well. Yeah,
opportunity to those acts that are probably just below the top tier to go in and do something cool. They can bring cool guests in. They focus it for 4 weeks rather than. I've done it with so many brands in Ibiza myself where luckily I've always kind of worked for successful ones, but when you it's a slog. Even with the good events, it's a slog. And if you're getting to halfway through the season and your sales aren't good, and it's draining and the passion's not there. And then if that's not there, then
it's a long season then, isn't it?
The magic's gone and it's not right. So
I'm just going to ask you, Grego, is there still room for the underground in Ibiza? And do you think you'll see more of that this year, or is it just going to be big artists, big main room stuff?
What's underground anymore?
Yeah,
exactly. What the fuck is underground?
Well, I mean,
I genuinely don't think I could say that. I'm sure people are going to go, oh, what's he talking about? I'm sure we'll all have.
Said it anyway.
But what is what's underground now? I'd like is things stay underground for such a short space of time now before they just kind of blow up.
I agree. It's like it's almost impossible to define. I think probably the only way I could say it is that anything that's not really commercially mainstream. That's probably how I'd define it. So within that, you've got some stuff. For example, even Romanian minimal, which those acts get paid 10 grand plus some of them and play at big festivals. Yeah. So is it really
That's
underground?
So popular.
No,
yeah,
it's not. But it's I guess in terms of popularity, I think is there room for that those types of things, smaller parties. Obviously, Pikes is a big one. Tomodachi, I hope I said that right. Tomodachi is a club.
Tamagotchi?
Not Tamagotchi, Tomodachi. It's a club, a small club in Ibiza town, run by Miller. He was part of Real Gang. He's done stuff there, and they've had some amazing guests. And it's a 1 room, 200 capacity club, which is great. Amazing sound system. And there's a couple of places like that, Akasha as well, that actually do cater for that. But I think this goes back to where we talked about before, where when people go to Ibiza, look. Of course, they want to. Say you go clubbing in Leeds, and you go to Mint Warehouse, or you used to go to, cool small underground clubs with 300 people. When you go to Ibiza, you might want more of the same, but that's not really what Ibiza is about. Ibiza is about those big room experiences, and you might during the trip go to Chimwa because it's a little bit different. It's a smaller room, and you might fit in a villa party. But really, when people go there, if they've got Carl Cox down the road at Universe. Against that small, they're probably going to go to Carl Cox and they probably should go there and experience that. For the smaller parties, there needs to be the alternative. But again, it depends on what stage you're at on that train journey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, perfect. I think Ibiza, we're finally looking forward to it this season. I think, it's going to be hopefully a good season. Guys, thanks for some of that. I enjoyed that.
No, it was all good.
I'm just going to ask you, who's going to be the biggest DJ in 2026?
Wow.
Or your favourite DJ of 2026? Who do you actually change that? Who do you actually want to go and see in 2026? Like you're not working, you want to go and see someone. Who are you going to see and who are you going to go and see?
Okay, well, I mean, we've been talking about going to Warung, haven't we?
In Brazil.
So Warung, one of my favourite clubs in the whole world.
In the world.
Is unfortunately closing finally this year in June, I believe. They've gone through they had a bit of an issue a few years ago when there was a fire, and it's been rumoured for a while it's going to close. So that club actually closes in June. We've spent some amazing carnivals.
Some of the best nights of my life.
And well, in terms of an artist, I know they've got Lauren Garnier playing there in April. I mean, that would just be absolutely unbelievable.
Wow.
To go and see something like that.
Yeah, we're going to go for Carnival.
We're going to go.
Yeah, we're going to go. We're
there.
going to get it booked. And Josh, anyone you particularly want to see?
I'm less DJs actually, to be honest. There's I passionately love live music, and reggae,
you're a big fan.
Is my bag. And so there's some I'm super excited for the Regular lineup coming out in a couple of weeks that we do in Milton Keynes. That's always one of my favorite things of the year. I've got we've booked. In fact, one of the kind of jointly answering your question from earlier on. One of the things that our Glastonbury group have done with No Glasto is we've just booked concert tickets that we're going to see Wu-Tang. I've got the Streets coming up. I've got there was another Fat Freddy's Drop, which I can't fucking wait to see. Cypress Hill, De La Soul. We've got some awesome
wow,
stuff.
You've been on it.
I've got I've got some awesome gigs coming up and some really cool new festivals and events that we're working with. So I was just saying, you potentially going to be in America then for the World Cup. Well, we might. Yeah, we'll be coming Scotland finally. Finally.
We haven't talked about football yet.
I saw they're giving you an extra day bank holiday, haven't they?
On the 15th of June or something.
They gave an extra day's bank holiday.
Oh, really? What is that for the first game or something?
Yeah. Well, our first game's the third. We're going to the. There's like 8 of us that are going out for the.
Have they put where it is? I remember the draw, but
we're in. Well, I don't know where you guys are, but we're in Boston. We got Haiti and Morocco in Boston, and then we're in Brazil. We played Brazil and Miami on my dad's.
Oh my god! Oh wow!
We played.
There's gonna be some sunburns.
I read it's the 5th most requested game of tickets in the whole World Cup.
Probably,
Is it? Wow.
Yeah, but we're all going out for Haiti. I mean, it's like Haiti's. We kind of decided between us, like all the boys, were like Haiti's going to be the easiest one. Trump's banned Haitians from the US.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a 65,000 capacity stadium, and it's going to be all Scots.
Oh wow!
So we've got tickets for that. I saw someone say it was like 6 p.m. Miami, Scotland v Brazil. There ain't enough sun cream in the world.
And I suppose a bit of an exclusive. Loud Unfiltered is going to be out there recording podcasts with some artists and some ex-legends as well. We're super excited about it. We will tell you more about it later. But guys, thank you very much. I'm thoroughly looking forward to this year and where this podcast can take us, really. It's been an amazing 9 months, and thank you for coming on this journey with me. And I think that's a wrap.